It happened again the other day. My wife looked right at me and said, "You know, my ex appreciated me way more than you ever will." Usually I just swallow it, but this time I snapped. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Well, if he loved you so much, how come he's not the one living in this house right now?" That shut her right up. She just froze. So, I figured I'd twist the knife a little bit and added, "Or did he already spell out the exact reason he didn't choose you?" Man, the second those words left my mouth, you could feel the entire energy in the room completely shift. Let me back up a second. I'm 35 years old, and up until about 3 weeks ago, I honestly thought all these constant comparisons to her ex-boyfriend were just some annoying, petty quirk I had to deal with. I had no clue that by finally standing up for myself, I'd accidentally uncovered a massive truth she'd been hiding from me for our entire marriage. Just watching the color completely drain from her face told me everything I needed to know. We've been married for 6 years now, but we've actually been together for 8. We met through some mutual friends, hit it off, and dated for 2 solid years before I finally popped the question. And back then, she couldn't say yes fast enough. We kept things simple with a small wedding, bought ourselves a nice little house, and settled into what I genuinely believed was a normal, happy marriage. Sure, we had our fair share of arguments here and there, but it was nothing major, or at least that's what I told myself. But then, around our 3rd year of marriage, the comments started creeping in. They were pretty small at first, just little remarks dropped here and there. She'd say things like, "My ex used to buy me fresh flowers every single week," or, "My ex always remembered our anniversary without me having to drop hints," or, "Must be nice. My ex actually knew how to plan a real romantic date night." Honestly, I just brushed it off at the time. I figured, hey, everyone's got a past and everyone's got exes. I assumed it was just her passive-aggressive way of telling me what she wanted more of in our relationship. So I stepped up my game. I started buying her flowers, made sure I memorized every important date, and planned out surprise evenings. But no matter what I did, it never quite felt like it was enough for her. By the time year 4 rolled around, those little comments turned into frequent, sharp digs. It became, "My ex would never leave the trash overflowing like this." Or, "You know, my ex brought home a lot more money than you do." Then came the kicker. My ex actually had real ambition. He was really going places in life. Man, that one definitely stung. Look, I've got a good, stable career. I pay the bills on time and I pull my weight around the house equally. But apparently, in her eyes, I just wasn't driven enough. I've got to ask you guys, what would you even do if you were in my shoes here? Have you ever had to deal with a partner who constantly held you up against an old flame? Leave a comment with your thoughts because I'd really love to know how you'd handle this. Anyway, that's when I started pressing for answers. I'd ask her, if this guy was so incredibly perfect, why on earth did you guys break up anyway? But she'd always get super vague on me. She'd give me the usual lines, "Oh, it just didn't work out," or "It was a case of bad timing," or "We just wanted different things out of life." She never gave me any specifics, never any real details. It was always just enough of an answer to shut down the conversation entirely. By the 5th year, I was just completely exhausted. Every single argument we had, every tiny disagreement, or even just a minor inconvenience would somehow circle right back to how her ex would have handled the situation so much better. It became her absolute default weapon against me. Anytime she was even a little upset with me, out came the ex card. I tried sitting her down to talk about it multiple times. I'd tell her, "Look, can you please stop bringing him up? It's incredibly disrespectful to me and our marriage." And she'd always flip it back on me. "I'm not bringing him up to hurt you. I'm just making a point." "Yeah, well, your point always seems to involve him being a better man than me," I'd reply. Then she'd hit me with her twisted logic. "Well, maybe if you did things right the first time, I wouldn't feel the need to compare you to him." According to her, if I just tried a little harder, she wouldn't have to compare me to a guy who clearly didn't want her around anymore. I actually called her out on that once. I said, "If he was so great, why isn't he the one with you?" She immediately got defensive and said, "Because he had to move away for a job opportunity. We just couldn't make a long-distance relationship work." So I said, "Right, so he picked his career over you." "It wasn't like that at all," she yelled. But to me, it sounded exactly like that. She didn't say a single word to me for 2 whole days after that chat. By our 6th year, I started picking up on a weird pattern. She never actually told real stories about the guy. She never shared specific, fond memories. It was always just these vague, sweeping statements about what he did or didn't do, or what he would or wouldn't have tolerated from her. It was always purely theoretical and totally abstract. I honestly started wondering if this guy was even a real human being, or if she just built up some idealized, flawless version of him inside her own head. But I didn't push the issue. I didn't want to start another massive fight, and I definitely didn't want to hear about how I wasn't measuring up for the 1000th time. Then, 3 weeks ago, we got into yet another argument. To be completely honest, I don't even remember what originally started it. It was probably something stupid, like me not scrubbing the kitchen counters the exact way she wanted them done. Just small, petty stuff. But it escalated fast. "You never listen to a single word I say," she screamed. I said, "I do listen to you. I just don't always do everything exactly the way you demand it to be done." And right on cue, she threw it out there. "Well, my ex always listened to me. He actually cared about what I wanted." I just froze. I set down the dish I was washing, wiped my hands, and turned around slow to look at her. "Your ex again? Seriously?" "Yes, my ex," she snapped back. "He actually appreciated me, and he made me feel like I was truly valued. And I don't do that?" "Not the way he did," she said. I leaned back against the kitchen counter. "Then tell me, why isn't he the one standing in this kitchen right now? If he appreciated you so much, and if he made you feel so damn valued, why isn't he the one living in this house? Why isn't he the guy who married you?" She went completely silent. She just stood there, wide-eyed, staring at me. Deep down, I knew I should have stopped right there. I should have just let it drop. But 6 solid years of hearing about this ghost of a man had built up a mountain of resentment inside me. It was something I didn't even realize was bubbling under the surface until it finally burst out. "Or," I said, "did he already tell you the real reason why he didn't choose you?" Right then, the whole room shifted. You could literally feel the air change. Her face went from pure anger to something completely different. Something I had never seen on her face in all our years together. It was a mix of total shock, pure fear, and then, without a doubt, deep shame. She opened her mouth to speak, closed it, and then opened it again. But nothing came out. I just stood there waiting, watching her brain frantically process whatever painful memory I just accidentally triggered. Finally, she spoke up. It was barely a whisper. "How did you know?" "Know what?" I asked. That he said that to me." My stomach instantly dropped. Man, I had just been guessing. I was just throwing out a mean jab to hurt her feelings the same way she'd been hurting mine for years. But without meaning to, I had struck a massive, buried nerve. "Said what, exactly?" I asked, keeping my voice level. She walked over and sank into a chair at the kitchen table, buried her face in her hands and said, "He told me I just wasn't enough for him. He said I was way too much work and that I was far too needy. He told me he was choosing his career because it was just easier than dealing with me." I just stood there by the counter, trying to process what I was hearing. "When did this happen?" "When we broke up," she whispered. 8 years ago, right before you and I met." "Wow," I said. "And you've been actively comparing me to him for 6 years? The exact same guy who looked you in the eye and told you that you were too much work?" She couldn't even give me an answer. "Why?" I asked her. "Why on earth would you compare me to a man who rejected you?" "Because he was right," she said quietly, looking up at me. "I am too much work. I am way too needy. And honestly, I've been trying to prove him wrong ever since he left. I've been trying to prove to myself that I'm actually worth choosing. But I'm not. You know I'm not. And that's exactly why you don't even try as hard as he used to." I pulled out a chair and sat down directly across from her. "What are you even talking about?" "He did try," she insisted. "In the very beginning, he did. He did all those romantic things I always talk about. The flowers, the grand dates, the romance. He really tried. But then he eventually realized I just wasn't worth the effort. So he stopped trying entirely. And then he walked out. And now you think I'm just waiting for you to do the exact same thing to me. Aren't you? She asked. I just leaned back in my chair and let those words sink in. 6 long years of comparisons, and that was the truth behind it all. 6 long years of being told I just wasn't enough. And the entire time, it turned out she'd been projecting her own insecurities onto me, testing me like some kind of experiment. She was just waiting for the shoe to drop, waiting for me to finally give up on her so she could prove her ex right. I looked at her and said it out loud, real slow. So, every single time you compare me to him, what you're actually doing is trying to push me away. You're trying to force me to leave just so you can prove to yourself that I'll abandon you exactly like he did. She just looked down and whispered, I don't know, maybe. I just can't shake the feeling that eventually, you're going to wake up and realize the exact same thing he did. You're going to realize that I'm just not worth the trouble. And telling me I don't measure up to him is your way of speeding up that process? I asked. She finally looked up at me, her eyes completely bloodshot and red. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. All I know is that I've been waiting for you to pack your bags since the exact day we got married. Every single day you stay with me feels like borrowed time. I just sat there in that chair, staring at this woman I'd been married to for 6 years. This was the woman who had spent our entire relationship holding me up against the shadow of a guy who had walked out on her. And suddenly, in a split second, everything clicked. All those years of comparisons had absolutely nothing to do with him being a better man. It was entirely about her feeling like she didn't deserve me or, honestly, anyone else. Why did you even marry me then? I asked her. Because you asked me to, she said. Because you actually wanted me. And I thought maybe you'd be different. Different how? Different enough to stick around even after you finally figured out what I really am. And what exactly are you? Too much, she said. I leaned forward, putting my hands on my knees. You're not too much. You're traumatized. There is a massive difference between those two things. She let out this really bitter, hollow laugh. Feels like the exact same result to me. No, it's really not, I told her. Saying you're too much implies that you are inherently broken as a person. Being traumatized just means somebody hurt you real bad, and you haven't processed any of it yet. Those are two completely different things. Well, I don't even know how to begin processing it, she muttered. Have you ever thought about going to therapy? No. Why not? Because if I go to therapy, then I have to admit out loud that there's actually a real problem here. And if I admit there's a problem, you might leave me. So instead of doing that, I said, you've spent the last 6 years trying to force me to leave by constantly telling me I'm not good enough for you. She didn't even try to argue with me on that one. She just sat there. I stood up from the table, walked over to the kitchen sink, and just stared out the window at our backyard. I looked at the life we'd built together, the home we shared, and right then, a heavy wave of reality hit me. I was just so damn tired. I wasn't just exhausted from the constant comparisons. I was tired of being tested day in and day out. I was completely worn out from being held responsible for damage a different man did to her. I was done trying to prove my worth to someone who had already decided from day one that I was just temporary. I turned back around to face her. I need you to hear me right now. Really hear what I am saying. She looked up at me, and I kept my voice completely steady. I am not him. I never was that guy, and I am never going to be that guy. And I am officially done being punished for what he did to you. I know, she whispered. No, you don't know, I said. Because if you actually knew that, you wouldn't have spent 6 years comparing me to a man who told you that you were too much work. If you knew, you would have gotten yourself some real help. You would have opened up and talked to me about this years ago. You would have done literally anything else except what you've been doing to me. I'm so sorry, she said, the tears starting to come. I don't want an apology anymore. I want change. Real, actual change. I don't want empty promises, and I don't want you putting in effort for a week just to slide back into old habits. I want you to get real, sustained, professional help. She nodded her head. Okay, I will. I'm dead serious about this, I told her. If our marriage is ever going to work, you have to deal with what that guy did to you and what he said to you. Because I can't compete with a ghost you've built up inside your head anymore, and I'm not going to keep trying. I'll go to therapy, she promised. Good. Because if you don't, I am completely done. She looked at me, and I could see pure panic hit her eyes. You would actually leave me? Yes, I would, I said. And not because you're too much work. It would be because I am clearly not enough to fix whatever is broken inside you, and I refuse to keep being your emotional punching bag while you try to figure it out. Right then, she started crying for real. It wasn't that angry, defensive crying we usually got into during our arguments. This was a deep, guttural, completely broken kind of sobbing. But I didn't walk over to her. I didn't pull her into a hug or try to comfort her. I just stood by the counter and let her feel it, letting her process whatever she needed to handle in that moment. After a few minutes, she managed to speak through the tears. I didn't think you'd ever actually leave. Honestly, I thought you'd just keep taking it. Why on earth would you think I'd just sit here and take that? Because you're a good man, she sobbed. Because you're patient with me. Because you love me. I do love you, I told her. But love isn't supposed to feel like this. It's not supposed to hurt this much, and you have been actively hurting me for 6 straight years. I know, she said. Do you really? Because you have never once acted like it. I do now. I really do. I reached down and grabbed my truck keys off the counter. I'm going to go stay at a friend's place for a few days. When I come back home, the first thing I want to hear is that you have a therapy appointment officially scheduled. If you haven't called someone by then, I'm going straight to a lawyer. Her head snapped up, completely shocked. A lawyer? I am not bluffing, I said. Either you get the professional help you need, or we are completely done. And with that, I walked out. I left the house, got into my truck, and drove over to my buddy's place. It's crazy because he'd been telling me for years that the way she compared me to her ex was completely toxic and that I deserved better than that. But I'd always defended her. I'd always make up some excuse for her behavior. Not anymore. I stayed away for 5 solid days. During that whole time, my phone never stopped buzzing. She texted me constantly, called me over and over, and left voicemail after voicemail. All variations of please come home, and I scheduled an appointment and I'm sorry. On day 3, she sent me a screenshot. A therapy appointment confirmation for the following week. On day 4, she sent a long text. I've been thinking about what you said. About being traumatized versus being too much. You're right. I've been carrying what he said to me like it was truth. Like I deserve to be abandoned. And I've been treating you like you're going to do the same thing because that's all I know. I'm going to therapy. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to be better. Please come home. I didn't respond. On day 5, I went back. She was sitting on the couch when I walked in. Looked like she hadn't slept. Eyes puffy. Hair a mess. Did you mean it? She asked. About leaving? Yes. Even now? Even though I scheduled therapy? Scheduling an appointment is the bare minimum. Following through is what matters. I'll follow through. We'll see. The next 3 weeks were strange. She went to therapy twice a week. Started reading books about trauma and attachment. Stopped making comparisons. Completely stopped. It was like someone had flipped a switch. At first I was skeptical, waiting for her to revert. But she didn't. She'd come home from therapy and actually talk about what she was learning. About herself. About why she'd been acting the way she had. My therapist says I've been self-sabotaging, she said one evening. Trying to control the abandonment by causing it myself. If I push you away, I don't have to feel blindsided when you leave. Are you going to keep pushing? I'm trying not to. It's hard. Every time things are good between us, there's this voice that says it won't last. That I should ruin it before you do. And what do you do with that voice? My therapist says to acknowledge it and let it pass. Don't act on it. Can you do that? I'm trying. 3 months in, she'd made real progress. We started talking more. Actually talking. Not arguing. Not her comparing me to someone else. Just real conversations about real things. One night, she brought it up. I need to tell you something about my ex. I tensed. Okay. He didn't just tell me I was too much work. He told me he'd met someone else. Someone easier. Someone who didn't need as much attention or reassurance. He said he'd been seeing her for 3 months before he broke up with me. He cheated on you. Yes. And then blamed you for it. Yes. That's not you being too much. That's him being a coward. She nodded. My therapist said the same thing. But I've believed his version for so long that it's hard to accept any other explanation. Do you still believe it? I'm working on not believing it. Good. Around the 4-month mark, something shifted between us. Not dramatically, but noticeably. She started initiating affection again. Small things. Holding my hand while we watched TV. Kissing me goodbye in the morning without me initiating it first. Asking about my day and actually listening to the answer. One Saturday morning, I woke up to find her already awake, just watching me sleep. That's creepy, I said, half joking. She smiled. I know, I realized I've spent 6 years waiting for you to leave. I've never just appreciated having you here. And now I'm trying to appreciate it before I ruin it again. You're not going to ruin it. How do you know? Because you're aware of it now. That's half the battle. She was quiet for a while. Fully? I thought about that. I don't know. Right now, I trust that you're trying. That's enough. But not that I won't fall back into old patterns. You might. People do. But if you do and you catch yourself and correct it, that's still progress. What if I don't catch myself? Then I'll tell you and you'll have to decide if you want to listen. I'll listen. Good. 5 months in, we had our first real test. I forgot our anniversary. Not the wedding anniversary. That one I never forget. But the anniversary of our first date. She used to make a big deal about it, would get upset if I forgot, would compare me to her ex who apparently never forgot any date. I realized 2 days after it had passed. Braced myself for the fallout. Hey, I said that evening. I just realized I forgot our dating anniversary. She looked up from her book. I know. You're not upset? I am a little, but I'm not going to make it into something it's not. That's different. My therapist and I have been working on proportional responses. Not everything has to be a relationship-ending crisis. So what do you need from me? Just acknowledge that it matters to me. That's all. It matters to you. I'm sorry I forgot. I'll set a reminder for next year. Thank you. That was it. No fight. No comparisons. No dramatic spiral. Just a simple exchange and moving on. I realized then that she really was changing. Not perfectly. Not without setbacks. But genuinely changing. 6 months after that conversation in the kitchen, we're still together. Still working on it. She's still in therapy. Still having moments where she doubts herself. But she's not projecting it onto me anymore. Last week, I surprised her with flowers. Random Thursday. No special reason. Just felt like it. She cried when she saw them. Why? Because I wanted to. But it's not our anniversary or my birthday or... I know. I just wanted to get you flowers. She hugged me. Held on longer than usual. Thank you. You're welcome. Later that night, she said something that caught me off guard. You know what's different about you? What? You stayed. Even when I was trying to push you away. Even when I was making it impossible. You stayed. I almost didn't. I know. That's what makes it mean something. You stayed because you chose to. Not because you felt obligated. Not because you were afraid to leave. Because you actually wanted to stay. I did. I do. He would have left the first time I compared him to someone else. Then he wasn't right for you. No, he wasn't. She paused, then continued. My therapist asked me something last week. She asked if I was happy. Not if I thought I deserved to be happy. Not if I was afraid of losing happiness. Just if I was actually happy right now. What did you say? I said yes. For the first time in years, maybe ever, I said yes without qualifying it. That's good. It's because of you. Because you didn't let me destroy this. Because you called me out. Because you gave me an ultimatum when I needed one. I didn't do it to fix you. I did it because I was done being hurt. I know. That's why it worked. If you'd done it to save me, I would have resented you. But you did it to save yourself. And that forced me to save myself too. I thought about that. About how close we'd come to ending. about how one conversation had changed everything. Do you still think about him? I asked. Sometimes. But not the way I used to. Now, when I think about him, I see him clearly. Not as someone who was better than you. Not as someone who I wasn't good enough for. Just as someone who hurt me and didn't deserve me. Good. Do you think we'll make it? Long term? I think we have a better chance now than we did 6 months ago. That's not a yes. No, it's not. But it's honest. She smiled. I'll take honest over false promises any day. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then she said, I'm glad you're here. Me too. I'm 35. Still married. Still working through damage someone else caused. But we're working through it together now. Not me trying to fix her. Not her trying to push me away. Just two people trying to build something real out of something that was broken. She still has moments. Still doubts. Still struggles with feeling like she's too much. But she's learning. And she's trying. And she's not weaponizing her trauma against me anymore. I don't know if we'll make it long term. I don't know if the work will be worth it. But I know I'm not competing with her ex anymore. I know she's not trying to make me leave. I know we're both here because we want to be. Not because we're afraid to leave. And for now, that's enough. Last night we were getting ready for bed. She was brushing her teeth when she stopped and looked at me in the mirror. What? I asked. Nothing. I just realized I haven't compared you to anyone in 6 months. I know. Do you miss it? She joked. Desperately. I was thinking of hiring someone to follow us around and tell me how I don't measure up. She laughed. Really laughed. I was horrible, wasn't I? You were hurt. There's a difference. Still, I put you through hell. You did. But you're fixing it. That counts for something. Does it count for enough? Ask me in another 6 months. She smiled. Fair. We got into bed. She curled up next to me. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for not making me regret staying. I'll try to keep it that way. That's all I ask. I'm 35. Still married. Still figuring it out. But at least now we're figuring it out together. Instead of her sabotaging it and me trying to hold it together alone. That's progress. That's something. And for the first time in 6 years, I actually believe we might make it.